Welcome to the SWBL podcast presented by 1356 Public House. My name is Brian Benware, your host, and this episode is all about the new Orioles. And I've got John Leicht, the new captain, joining me to talk about everything and what to expect in season 20. So, Johnny, how you been, bud?
I'm doing great. No complaints. It's good to see you and excited to be here. Thanks for hosting me.
You got it, man. I'm excited to talk about this new team and all the firepower that you have and kind of what to expect. And then maybe ask, I don't know if they're hard questions, but just some questions about it. So let's kind of dive into it. We're going to look at the roster. We're going to look at the division, a little bit of the schedule, just kind of a lot of the same things. If you've heard any of the other captain interviews, it's going to be very similar. So let's jump into, the new franchise. There's nothing to talk about in season 19 because that didn't exist other than certain players' performances, and that might come up as we did kind of break down the roster. But your roster on paper is really good. You've got 3 guys in the top 10 in the rankings, and Sam at 4, Brett at 10, and Peter at 9, and then yourself with a lot of experience, and then you bring back Patrick Gotti, who missed last year, and was in the top 2 or 3 of the voting for MVP the year before. So a lot of success from your players here. So I guess my first question is, as the captain, how do you plan on managing a roster full of star
power? By having very level set expectations for each player. And that doesn't start now. That actually started in the recruitment process and free agency. So, just telling everyone what the expectation is, both from them and then from me and the organization. And that's something that we've already covered prior to each person signing on. So there shouldn't be any surprises, right? I mean, we kind of nailed those bases down prior to putting the pen to the paper.
Right. Well, and talk to me a little bit about the recruiting, because, you leave the Expos and you bring Brett with you. So kind of talk to me about how it all transpired, because these are all names, former captains of different teams, lots of connections with other players and other teams for these individual players. So kind of talk to me about how all of this kind of came together and you ended up with the roster you did.
It started with Peter. I don't think that's probably a surprise to anybody. In one of the obviously hundreds of conversations we had last year, just kind of threw out that, and I knew he was maybe shutting down things with the Brewers, and I kind of made the offhanded comment almost as a joke that, if he left, I'd start a team and have him join, and he jumped on board, and then he did a lot of the dirty work, and we had a core, and we added some solid pieces, and that's really not a super exciting story, but that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of connections with your players to the league. You've got 3 front office members on one roster here, including the commissioner. And then obviously Peter and Patrick's relationship goes way back, and they were members of the Brewers together for a long time. And then obviously you and Brett have a really strong relationship, not only growing up together, but also playing on the Expos for the past few years. So there's a lot of, and then you can combine that with, Brett and Sam having played together for a long time with the Cardinals back in the day. So there's a lot of chemistry for a team that's brand new on paper, right? It's a new franchise. However, these players have played together before. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it makes it easier when, a piece fits and someone else, raises their hand and says, hey, I'd like to go join with that person. And in some cases it was because I'd love to play with that person again, or in some cases it was I've never played with so-and-so, and I think that could be really, really fun. But I mean, you nailed the obvious connections that we have. And, you started out this conversation by complimenting our roster. And I agree with your assessment, and it's easier to get people to come when you've got other good people playing. there are those in this league who say that we're old and washed up, and I don't think those people are right, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah. It does feel like in my conversations with other captains or other, just other players in my own time, that everybody looks at it and says, man, they can be really, really good. But then they also like question, will the chemistry be there? Will will it actually work?
Mhm.
And I think you're right. I think in a sense, like, let's see it. But as a captain of that team, I would be very confident. I mean, there's a lot of winning when you combine those five guys. They
I
have
mean,
the teams to win.
that's the job. That's my job, and probably my only job, or my biggest job, is to make sure the chemistry works. And again, that doesn't start May 28th.
Yeah.
That started when free agency started.
Yeah,
And
in January.
so I feel good about it. I mean, we'll get into it later, I'm sure, this league, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how confident can you really be going into any season in this league? But I was very pleased with the roster breakdown.
Yeah. Well, and then just speaking of concerns, like, do you have any concerns? Is there anything going into the season that maybe gives you pause?
I have some minor concerns. I'd say my biggest concern, right, and this is not a call out of any player on our team, but like, for example, my biggest concern is probably, all right, Sam has so much to do with being commissioner, right? And we all know he does a lot. And I don't mean this to be negative, but he's got to do a million things for being commissioner, but I got to have him involved and focused and on top of his game for the team. So I have other concerns that I think are smaller. And if that's my biggest one, you tell me if I have big problems or small problems. I knew that well before even talking to Sam, when the idea of, hey, if he were to join, this is one of my concerns. So, when I say level setting, right, like we talked about this. So,
yeah. Well, that's good that you had an open conversation about that, because I'm not sure anybody who would approach Sam to join their team would even maybe have that conversation. That could be partly true because the fact that he's been doing it for now almost 20 years, and he performs and is a top performer every year. So it seems like he is able to balance it. But
I would agree.
It's definitely a valid, maybe not concern, but just something that you want to be aware of.
I mean, Sam's consistently for the last, probably for all 19 seasons, right? I mean, I guess, and he tells me he took a year off somewhere in there. But so for 18 seasons, he's probably been a top 5 player every single year. I mean, it's safe to say maybe a year, maybe 2, he was off. So you're right. Some people may go into it as like a total like sales job, kiss ass mode. But for me, it was, hey, I think this could be a good fit. I think that it's A, B, and C good reasons why you should join. But also, no hard feelings if you want to take it a different direction. Like, I'm certainly not going to be, torn up about it. I think that there's other people that we could get to play, and we'd love to have you, but it's got to be a fit for both parties. And fortunately for us, it was.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are obviously looking at you and the White Sox, right, as the two new teams, and it's easy to compare and say, okay, one team has built a roster with these players, one team has done this. It looks slightly different from the outside of how we decided to build our teams. But when you really, in my opinion, when you look at it, you did go to a core group of people around the same age who have been friends for a very long time. And that's how you built your roster. And I think some people are looking at it more of like the names that you got versus some of the names that the White Sox got. Now, while I think all of those guys are really good, and some are even getting better and are going to have more opportunity, they're still not Hall of Famers. They're not some of the guys and the names that you have on your roster. So I don't know. I guess that's a statement more than a question. I didn't really have a question for you there.
I'll weigh in on it though.
Yeah.
Because I think the White Sox have a very nice roster, and I think that Johnny did a really nice job of putting that together. I would say that the longevity of my players is probably why they're in the Hall of Fame. And from a talent perspective, I wouldn't sell any of those guys on the White Sox short. And I wouldn't say, I'm not guaranteeing any of them will be in, but the most of them or all of them, probably, it's like if their name's in one day, like, no one's going to be shocked. They're
Right.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting.
They just
to
haven't
see.
been around. They haven't been around since the beginning.
Yeah. Right.
That's the only difference.
You've got, I think your longest tenured player in the league would be John. And then Ty's been around 8 or 9 years. Jackson's been around about the same time. So they're still building their legacy in this league, where you've got guys who, again, were on teams in the beginning, first couple years, have been around this league for the longevity of it. So yeah, you're right. I think, but I do agree that the White Sox have some really nice pieces.
Yep.
And now that even some of them are going to even have bigger roles on a new team, that can certainly propel them higher up in the ranks of what we think of as some of the best players.
Yep.
So, another aspect of your roster is you have 3 really good pitchers. And I'm curious how you're going to kind of handle your rotation.
I think I have 4 really good pitchers, and not to give away my secret, but I have delegated all pitching decisions to one of the players on my team, and I will choose not to share who that is now, but I've given someone full authority on who starts, when changes are made, and I will weigh in and I may voice concerns, but I will not overrule that person's authority to completely 100% handle the roster, the rotation, excuse me.
So is that also part of your maybe management strategy, a little bit of delegation?
A lot of delegation.
Okay. A lot of delegation. I mean, I know that you coming from a background with Kevin, and you and he had a really strong relationship, and he's even mentioned in his podcast that you were in a sense a co-captain, and a lot of ideas and decisions were discussed not only amongst the team, because he likes to involve the entire team, but obviously bounced ideas off of you, had discussions with you, which also helps you going into, in a sense, a rookie year as a captain technically. But that experience has got to be making you a little bit more confident as a rookie captain.
It definitely does. I think more so important being able to look up to Kevin over the last 5+ years. And, I'm not Kevin. I'm going to do things a little bit differently than he would, but I am going to take the things that I liked and respected from him the most and try and replicate them the best that I can. And then I'm going to do some of the things that maybe I would change. I'm going to handle them the way that I would do them.
Nice. It's a good plan. I think for longevity of a team and for chemistry of a team, like having your players have a say in maybe some of the decisions that get made, not all, but some, definitely helps with that and gives them more ownership over both the successes and the failures of your team.
Yeah. And I mean, going back to the pitching thing real quick, I just think that there's people on my team who know the pitching and know the matchups and know the history better than I do. I'm absolutely 100% in charge of the hitting rotation, every lineup and every fielding assignment. But because I do feel like I have a really, really solid handle on things from that end. But when it came down to the pitching, I just thought, you know what, if I have someone on this team who's going to be better at making those decisions than me, that I will let them run the show, and I think it'll be more successful for the entire team.
Yeah, it's a great plan. Well, when we get to season 20, we will find out who the Orioles pitching coach is.
You will.
So, let's jump into your division and kind of discuss some of the opposition here. But you were in the Cardinal blinds and shutters division with the Astros, the A's, and the Orioles. And a lot of people are saying this division may end up being the most competitive. Personally, I would agree with that, but I'm also in the division. What were your thoughts when the division draw came out?
Yeah, I mean, in this league, like it's no matter what division you get, it's going to be really, really tough. So I wasn't at the division draw. My daughter had softball practice. I'm the coach. If I felt like the division was super, super important, I would have skipped it and come to the division draw. So that should tell you how I think about the divisions. I mean, no matter who you get, you still got 10 games to play. I understand it makes a difference, but no matter who you get, it's a gauntlet. So we're pleased. I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons about playing a lot of teams in this league. The A's and the Astros are not going to be super easy opponents to have to face twice, but we still get to play everybody else one time. So, you know, obviously those division games are more important. I acknowledge that, but it's not like you don't get away from playing everybody.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very true. And a lot of times, even as this league has gotten more competitive each year, those interleague plays per se become even more important than they used to be. You know, back in the days when it was AL, NL, obviously your 6 games against your division. I mean, you win those games or a majority of those games, that can be the thing that gets you in. Nowadays, 6 and 4, sometimes 5 and 5 gets you in the playoffs. And so you can't just coast by winning your division and losing out to everybody else.
I mean, outside of division, we have to play the Twins and the Yankees and the White Sox. And, you know, if you drop all 3 of those games, I'm not so sure it really matters. And I'm talking about both our teams, right? You drop all 3 of those games, I'm not really sure how much the division is going to matter at that point. So you got to go steal someone elsewhere.
Yep, you're right. Speaking of the schedule and interleague play, have you had a chance to look at the schedule? What were your initial thoughts on the way that kind of planned out? Was there anything that maybe stood out to you?
So obviously, I mean, and you probably were asking the question specific to the Orioles, but I'll take it off that for a second. I mean, obviously game 1, I've been a big proponent of, played in it last year, was a little bit skeptical, like I am with a lot of things that Sam does actually, but it was awesome. And I said at the winter meeting that game 1 is a really cool thing. And I think that it's something that really should be fostered. And the best way to do it is to get different people in there, different games every year. Now I realize that's really hard because the majority of teams here have a lot of out of town folks who only come in for the week. And I understand that and appreciate it. And we're glad to have it happen. But I'm torn, right? Because game 1 is the best rivalry in the SWBL. And like Expos, Astros is a Saturday afternoon game. But it's going to make for a really cool game 1. And I'm excited to see how it happens. And I'm really excited to kind of talk to you afterwards and you know, tell me what you thought. And, you know, Sam's probably going to ask you, hey, how can we make it better? How can we do things differently? So I'd be curious your takes on that as well. But I think game 1's a really cool thing. We play on Friday. We open with the Rockies. So, you know, like I said, this league, you just kind of start by jumping in the deep end. And then we have a pretty balanced schedule. I did make a request to Sam. No one else on the team had any schedule requests. I said, hey man, I cannot play Monday morning. It's my anniversary. I'm gonna be gone all weekend. So can you delay us on, we'll play early Saturday, we'll play early Sunday, but can you delay us Monday so I can at least take my wife to the shack? And he agreed. So if anyone's looking at the schedule, I'm the reason why we don't have any Monday morning games.
Yeah. Well, you finished with that division game, you know, with the Astros.
Yeah.
So,
which
you know,
could mean something.
Right. And that was one thing that a lot of people have noticed is the divisional games that got scheduled for Mondays and how important those last few games could be. Some teams by that point will probably be decided that they're in or they're out, potentially, but it could come down to a run on Monday. And you know, so just something that I noticed and wanted to bring up, but you're right. I think those could be great. I found it surprising. I didn't know your anniversary was that Monday. And just on a side note, you and I have a lot of things in common, in the sense that we are the oldest active-ish players. We're, I think, a few months apart. And then our anniversaries are the Memorial Day weekend, because mine is the 27th.
And, you know, some years it's not a big deal. And then some years it's like, oh man, this couldn't have been.
So if you see our wives out there, pat them on the back and tell them you're sorry. And
the year that I jumped over the fence and sprained my shoulder and like Will Rath had to take care of me, like that next day was my anniversary. And so I had to go to dinner with my wife, like in a sling, like couldn't move my arm. I might have said wrist. I sprained my shoulder. But yeah, it was like here's the anniversary dinner, and I'm really sidelined because of a wiffle ball injury. That's a good story.
Yeah, I think one year I 2 years ago, I think it was the last time I played the field. I was running downhill in right field and try to jump the fence so that I wouldn't tear up the fence. And I didn't jump.
Oh, I remember that.
And I
Yeah,
slammed
dude.
down against the Marlins. I ended
You
up
went down
fracturing a
hard.
rib, and that was on my anniversary day.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it was, I've had a similar injury story there too. So
Yeah.
anyway, funny story for all of you wiffle ball fans. John and I are not that different.
So just to wrap up the schedule thing, because I did look at it. I mean, I didn't like conflict of interest. I wasn't peppering Sam for anything. Like I just let him do his own thing. The one thing that he did, we did talk about was playing the Marlins on that Sunday morning. Shameless plug here. The reason we're doing that is because my parents have graciously offered to host a Bloody Mary bar on Sunday morning.
Oh,
and
great.
So Sam felt like, well, if they're going to be nice enough to, set up shop for everybody in the league, at least I can do is give them a game where, Eli and John and Peter are all playing in it. So it wasn't necessarily a request, but that was something I was kind of in on for that. But outside of that, I mean, I'm pleased, but it would take a lot to make me not pleased with the schedule.
Yeah. Well, and you've made a lot of players pleased hearing that there's going to be a Bloody Mary bar.
Yeah, I hope Mark and Pat bring enough vodka, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. The rankings just came out. At least the hitting, pitching, and fielding rankings came out. There was a lot of talk on Twitter, teams saying they felt slighted, or some people didn't say anything. But you guys came in, and also fun. You guys came in hitting third, pitching first, fielding fourth. So 3-1-4. And seems pretty apt for your team as well.
Sure does.
But what were your thoughts on your rankings? Did you feel they were fair? Did you feel you were slighted? Do you feel like maybe you're too high?
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, this is a vote, and we're gonna go play games and see, where we really stack up at the end of the year. So like, it's not even bulletin board material, for us. I mean, I think that the team's just happy to be together, and so 3 hitting, I don't know, it's directionally accurate. 1 pitching surprises me a little bit. To be honest with you, I wouldn't have expected to be 1 pitching, and 4 fielding. I like to think that we could finish better than the 4th fielding team in the league. So that's how I feel.
Yeah. Well, do you think? How do you think when the overall ranks come out, right, for overall teams, when they come out here soon, where do you end up? Where do you think you'll end up being ranked at then?
I mean, based on what you just said, we have to be like a 3, right? I mean, we would be in that 2 to 4 range based on the metric. I'm solely basing it off the 3-1-4, right? Yeah. So I'd say we're somewhere between 2 and 4, and just to make it easy, I'll say we probably end up 3rd. I mean, the Twins are going to be number 1. If they're not, the whole thing is rigged. The Yankees will get a boost with the addition of Gus, off-season signing of the year, in my opinion. And then we could slide in there. The White Sox could slide in there. I wouldn't put the Astros and the A's too far behind that, and the Rockies. I wouldn't put any of those teams too far behind us. So
so right on the edge of top tier, second tier, somewhere around.
Yeah. I think that's, and basically you're asking me not what I think. You're asking me how I think the league is going to view us, and that's how I answered that question. I think that's what the league's going to view us.
I was going to ask, where do you feel you should, and you kind of answered that as well. Where you think
probably in the same realm.
Yeah. It makes sense to me, at least, as we go into the season and what expectations are for what your players can do.
I mean,
proven to do before. So,
I mean, listen, you've got 3 guys who are coming off 3-7 teams. I don't remember how the Royals did last year, but they certainly didn't, achieve what they wanted to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't play last year. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's not many instances that we can look back to where really good players take a year off and come back to gauge how that's going to go. So there's some things working against us as well.
Yeah, those are all good points and stuff that nobody's really been talking about, at least not on podcasts or with me in meetings or anything like that. So let's look at the other 2 divisions real quick, and we'll come back to yours. Okay. What I'm going to have you do is pick a winner for each division. Okay. So
Yeah.
the Corner Pub and Grill division has the Yankees, the White Sox, and the Expos. Your
Yeah.
team.
Can I just say that I think it's awesome that the Yankees and White Sox ended up in the same division?
Yeah.
Like, I know I said divisions don't matter, and that's true. I mean what I said, but like, if I'm not in the division and I'm not on those two teams, but I get to watch them play each other twice, like, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I mean, I suppose flip a coin between those two, but if they beat each other up, and those games with the Twins and the Astros are going to be competitive for them as well. If they stumble somewhere and the Expos can maybe take one from them, like, they wouldn't be too far behind. But I'd say flip a coin between the Yankees and the White Sox.
Okay. And then in the Ketting Eye Center division, you've got the Twins, the Rockies, and the Marlins.
Yeah, I mean the Twins until they don't, right? So
right. I think that makes sense. Plus, you've got a bit of a new look Rockies, who I think.
Yeah, but they,
at least thus far, I mean, yes, they've been the most consistent, well, not the most, but they've been one of the most consistent. They're the only franchise to be in the playoffs every single year in the franchise era. But they've got a bit of a new look. Breda's gone. They've got two new rookies coming into their team. So there's a little bit of unknown. I think I'm going to have this conversation with Blake, but so far they've been the biggest wild card team. In a sense, not in the sense like people have picked them to make the wild card. Mm-hmm. I've got people picking them to win the league, and I've got people picking them to miss the playoffs entirely.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen, but I agree. I think until the Twins don't, you kind of have to go with them.
It's as simple. It's nothing against the Rockies. It's just the Twins. I mean, and I'm not even surprised that you said you've got people who think the Rockies are going to win and miss the playoffs. I think that that's a thing that I would expect other people to think. I will tell you that I played with Adam North in Summer League. We won, and he's not a scrub. Yeah. So, and I mean, look, Summer League is not SWBL, but it does give him a pretty decent advantage. We brought some of the best football players from across the country to the Blur, and the first year there's an adjustment. And I don't know if it's the pitching speed. I don't know if it's the fact that you've got pre-COVID times over 50 people watching you play a game. I don't know if it's the hill. It's probably the hill. I think it's the hill. But I mean, all those things, it takes some of getting used to, and he's knocked some of that, adjustment period off by playing the Summer League. So that was Blake is their captain, right? That was a pretty astute signing from those guys.
Yeah, I would agree. And right now he is the preseason favorite to win Rookie of the Year. So it definitely is a little bit different coming from as a rookie, having not only wiffle ball experience with MoWiff and everything else, but also at least having a look at our pitchers, our field, a little bit of similar rules, not completely the same, but a little bit of the same style of play. So, and then let's jump back over to our division real quick. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to have you go ahead and pick a winner.
Yeah. I mean, I have to think it's going to be us because candidly, like, I would not have started a franchise or left the Expos, where I, obviously have a lot of respect for those guys and it was a lot of fun. Like, the only way that I would do that is if I could put together a roster that could really, really compete. And the first step of that would be to win the division. So that's the mentality that we've had, again, going back to the signing every single player. So I'm going to have to go with the Orioles.
Okay. And then I'm going to have you pick two wild card teams. So the final two that make the playoffs. So you could say, since you kind of picked both the Yankees or the White Sox.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm thinking that they may beat each other up. So let me think about this. So obviously I got the 3 division winners.
Yeah, Orioles, Twins. Well, and you didn't really pick one for the other one. So
yeah, I mean, look, I guess I'll take the Yankees White Sox runner up, and I'll flip a coin between the Rockies and the Astros, man. I feel like that should be like the wild card game to get into the wild card game and then, expand the playoffs. But it's really hard. I mean, maybe because I'm talking to you, I'll just go Astros.
Okay.
Tomorrow I might say Rockies. I don't know.
Yeah. Next time you talk to Blake, you just say that.
He's going to listen. He'll have heard me.
Yeah. All right. Last question before we jump into a little bit of rapid fire, but some big news in the world of SWBL is your son is
Yeah.
coming to play this year. So obviously we've all seen you and how great of a father you are to Jack and the rest of your kids and stuff, but just kind of want to get your, thoughts. This is the first time, aside from Mr. Skibby coming in and playing a little bit, but this is really going to be the first time we've had the next generation of our players come into the league. I mean, Jack, we kind of always assumed would be the first, but it's actually happening now. So I don't know, just thoughts, anything you want to say about this fact?
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for him. I'm very excited for myself. And Nina's absolutely thrilled. She's very excited. She's not necessarily been around as much as some of the other wives, but I think that will change this year from a mother standpoint. We were never going to keep him out forever. I thought that maybe, next year. So he's 12 this year, right? A little young, next year's 13, certainly by 14, I figured he'd have an avenue in. Kevin approached me about wanting him to play with the Expos, and obviously it's an organization I'm very comfortable with. And I think just as importantly, right? I mean, he's comfortable with them and they're comfortable with him since he's been around that organization for a while. So, and I don't want to speak for Jack, but I would, my view as his father is that he's going to come in with a very competitive mindset. He's probably thinking to himself, like, there's just no reason that I can't win Rookie of the Year. Whether or not he gets the bats and the chances, that's up to Kevin. But I know that either way, he's going to come in with the right mindset. Kevin has helped to level set expectations that chances probably aren't going to be there in spades to really win that kind of an award. But, Jack's going to come in with the mindset that he's going to take advantage of every single opportunity. He's not the kind of kid who you can tell him he's wrong until you show him or it happens. So I'm obviously very proud of him.
Yeah, I think you should be. Not that I think that you absolutely should be, but there's also a lot of pride, I think, in this community. And we've talked for years and years about how special the SWBL is because of the family atmosphere, the community, the friendships that we have. And so I know a lot of players are excited to see Jack play in a real game, not just hit in between games from you, throw into him and stuff like that. And I know we played a little bit in Summer League too. So got into some games there, but yeah, we are all excited for this sort of next step in the evolution of the SWBL with a new generation coming in. So
yeah, it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Are you going to play in the game against the Expos?
Don't ask stupid questions.
All right, let's get into the unknown rapid fire edition. I've got 10 questions. You can just answer them quickly, or you can spout, if you want to add anything to it, feel free. But what is the final record for the Orioles?
I don't know. 7-3.
7-3.
6-4.
6-4. Okay. Who is the team MVP for season 20?
Patrick Gotti.
Patrick Gotti. Favorite 90s song? You might be the only athlete that doesn't have to look up what's from the 90s.
I wish you would have asked favorite 80s song, but you
Let's
didn't.
go. Oh, no, that's fine. Let's go 80s. Yeah, because you're the only one I could probably ask that to.
Oh, I mean, I would say How Will I Know by Whitney Houston.
Let's go. Who will lead the league in strikeouts as a pitcher in season 20?
I mean, I don't know. They're all really, really good. I could put 6 names in a hat and I'll pick out Jackson Crosley.
Okay. Favorite team to play against?
I mean, obviously it was the Astros when I was on the Expos. I don't know that it's going to mean as much right now. So I will not say the Astros and I will say the Marlins.
Okay. That'll be a fun rivalry to get going too.
I mean, you know how I give Eli a hard time.
Yeah. No, but I think the Marlins, they went 3-7 last year. They're taking steps to get better. They've returned most of their players. If they can take a step and fight, and Eli's a very proud person. There's aspects of wanting to beat some of these names out there, and especially Peter. But yeah, I think it would be that would be a fun matchup to kind of get.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They took some steps forward. I mean, I think they're, as an organization, if they're not this year, certainly by next year, they're going to be in a position where they kind of like have to make like a big move forward, or at least he's got to look in the mirror and figure out what he's doing here.
Yeah.
So that'll make it even more fun too.
Yep. The favorite place to order lunch during the weekend?
Oh, I mean, I always end up getting Jimmy John's, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite. Yeah, probably Lion's Choice.
It's a solid choice. Yeah.
I'm not a picky eater, so I could
Yeah.
settle on a number of restaurants.
All right. Shout out sponsor, by the way. Yeah. Movie. Okay. So you're hosting a movie night for the team. What movie do you show?
Man, with the group of guys I have, it's gonna have to be like Home Alone. Yeah, let's go Home Alone.
Home Alone. Nice.
Yeah.
Who will lead the league in RBIs in season 20?
Sam.
All right. Choose one and give up two.
No, I'll say Gus to the last one. Gus.
Okay. Gus for
Yeah.
RBIs. All right. Choose one, give up two. So you can only keep one of these things. Okay.
Yeah.
Pool, alcohol, lawn chairs.
I can only keep one.
Mhm.
Well, I'll give up myself because I'm probably not coming without the pool and the booze. So I guess I'll keep the alcohol.
Okay. And then who wins the championship in season 20?
Orioles.
All right. That is going to wrap up this episode of our captain interview series with John of the SWBL Orioles. Real quick, want to thank our sponsors, 1356 Public House, Brex, Reuben Brown, Ketty Nice Center, Corner Pub and Grill, Cardinal Blinds and Shutters, Breckenridge Brewery, Logix, High Road Craft Ice Cream, STL Cycle Saloon, Lion's Choice, Sticker Mule, Amp Up Action Park, Andy's Frozen Custard, and Daily Smokehouse. We have a few more captain interviews to come. We're also going to be doing a fantasy wiffle ball podcast with your younger brother, Peter. He is leading that charge again. So stay tuned for that, and having a season preview as well as our alumni game draft will be on the podcast as well. So stay tuned for those rosters. Any final words or anything you want to throw out into the world, John?
I am super excited for that alumni game. I think that that's an awesome idea, and I'm glad that it came together. I don't know anything about it. I'm talking to Sam about it. So what's the plan? Does that kind of supplant this all-star game or the skills competition, or is it the Sunday night? What's he doing?
It's probably not. It's probably going to limit the skills competition to an extent. It's not going to supplant anything. I think it's just going to limit how many events we can do during that.
Yeah.
But we'll still have the all-star game. The home run derby is also changing slightly too.
I heard that. I did know that.
Anyone can join, pay and do it. So
no, and I heard, I think it was Scott Poley say something about that. He made a lot of sense, right? The skills competition. The first year was so awesome, and we've kind of been chasing that high ever since. And you know what? I didn't think about it until he said it that way, and I thought, man, he's right. And I'd be open for a change. And if that change is this alumni game, then it's gonna be a lot of fun. I mean, obviously, I know most of those guys knew most of those guys, and some of the newer players won't, and they'd just be kind of like watching a bunch of strangers playing on the field. But for me, I'm very excited to see that thing happen.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing too to have a.
Who are the captains?
Rob Walters. And
okay, stupid question. Yeah. And who's the second one?
Olderman. Or no, sorry, Oldenburg.
Yeah, David. Oh, okay.
David.
Or Andy, sorry. Yeah.
Oldenburg.
All right. I mean, that's those two have a little bit of a rapport, so that'll be good.
Yeah,
So
it'll be fun. And I think Go ahead.
Well, I can already know who the last pick is going to be, and it's going to be my brother Andrew.
You think so?
I'm positive he's going to be the last pick for sure.
Well, it'll be fun to have all three of you there again at the field. And I was also realizing like we haven't done a rookie, or what do we call it, a futures game back in the day, where all the rookies played. Now, granted, we don't have enough rookies to play a full game, but getting another exhibition game, and especially around season 20 with the alumni, it should be a lot of fun. It'll be one of the things I think a lot of guys stick around to see, even if they don't.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not gonna like repeat that every single year. It'll be like a maybe every 5-year thing or something like that. So, I mean, the fact that we're doing it this year, I think is special in the anniversary season for sure.
Absolutely. Well, John, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it. It was really good talking to you and seeing you again. And looking forward to seeing you in season 20.
Can't wait.
All right. Stay safe. See you later.
Goodbye.